and welcome to this week's episode of Not D&D, brought to you by EN World Live. I, as always, am your host, Jessica. A little bit tired, got back from a convention at 1:30 this morning, but I'm still here to talk to you about games, and joining us this week is Spencer, the creator of the Contract RPG. Spencer, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Jessica, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I'm hoping you can help me get through this and make sure
Yeah.
we give a good stream despite being a little bit tired, because I'm super excited to talk to you about the Contract RPG. Thanks for joining us in chat. I've put some links to the Contract RPG Kickstarter and also the website that you can take a look at. And also, if you're listening to the podcast, anything we're talking about will be in the show notes for you to listen to. But before we get into talking about the game, I'm very nosy, Spencer, and I always ask about people's background and history with role-playing games. So I'm going to do that to you as well. So do you remember the first tabletop RPG you played?
Yeah, I think if we're talking like classically defined RPGs, it was probably actually D&D first edition when I was like end of middle school, beginning of high school. We found my friend's dad's old books and we started playing then. Also played, D&D fourth edition. And then wasn't really until the end of high school when I actually found House Games, which was the predecessor to The Contract, which really started my relationship with this game that we're talking about today. So that was back in like 2009 for me.
2009, so that's quite a wee while ago. So how did you how did it start with like a kind of the Contract RPG? Like how did you become somebody that played and enjoyed games to somebody that started creating them?
Yeah, so I've always been game creator. Like I remember when I was really little and we play like Warcraft 1, I would always draw the like custom maps and stuff like that for games.
Yeah.
And when I played pretend with my friends on the playground, we almost did it like a lit RPG style, We didn't have words for it back then, but it was all GM fiat, right? No dice, no rules, but it was the same vibe.
Nice.
But yeah, it wasn't until, after high school I played House Games, which was a very creative version of the Contract that involved a lot of GMs creating systems that were custom for each character. So each character could be totally unique and bring their own totally awesome, distinct set of powers to the game that I really started to write like tabletop systems, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I love that.
So that was when I started at least. And then, fast forward to 2020, COVID, we needed a COVID project. And so I thought, you know what, this game I love, and it's got legs. Why not try and bring it to everybody and try to make like a definitive edition that solves some of the issues it has and makes it a public game that everyone can try out and enjoy.
I love that. So yeah, let's get into it, because that leads us there to that journey. So yeah, the Contract RPG. So if people haven't heard of it and they're hearing for this the first time, how do you describe it to them? How would you invite them into the world?
Yeah, so it's a supernatural thriller RPG where you play as ambitious people who risk their lives in crazy, deadly missions to get superpowers and change the world. That's the key marquee phrase. Little more, it kind of starts off feeling low-powered and gritty, all like a Silence of the Lambs or No Country for Old Men kind of vibe. But as you win and you get your powers and your characters start to advance, everyone becomes these really distinct, super-powered weirdos, more sort of like a Suicide Squad or maybe like One Punch Man or like an anime where you have all these different types of characters. And so yeah, it really evolves the more you play. You can be anything you want. You start as a human, but you can grow into any concept at all, which is one of the main selling points. And yeah, that's the Contract.
I love that. I mean, one of the things that was really interesting to me about when you first got in touch and told me about the game was that so the game is completely free to play and is available online at thecontractrpg.com. So why did you decide to put the game out in that way?
It has so many advantages, right? Like I would say our main goal in making the game was to share it with as many people as possible for starters. But beyond that, just for developing a quality game,
Mhm.
we need feedback, we need iteration. You know, I knew that was the path to making a game that was like actually a joy to play and that actually stood the test of when different groups of people try it out and you're not in the room. Um, you know, we wanted to make a game that had been play tested this way and that for
Mhm.
years before we brought it to like a book, and we've done that.
Mhm. Fantastic. Yeah, so like I said, the game is free for people to have a look at, and the links are in the chat and the show notes to have a look at the contract RPGs. You can check out the full rule set and things online. But one of the things I really liked about it is with the website, you mentioned you're trying to solve the issue of scheduling. Because I think anybody that plays games and run games knows that the biggest nightmare is getting a group of people around a table or at an agreed time to play a game. So how does the game help with kind of scheduling and consistency?
Yeah, so that was actually the original reason why it was created. It was actually not, the predecessor game wasn't made by me. It was made by another guy named Mark who
Mhm.
created it in 1997.
Oh wow.
As yeah, it was like a homebrew for World of Darkness. I was, 6 years
Mhm.
old at the time, eating birthday cake with my hands or whatever. Um,
Some of us still are,
but
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, but that was the main point of it was what
Mhm.
do you do when your campaign, someone can't make it to the night, you can't continue your campaign. Um, well, he created this format where each mission is episodic, so they're like
Mhm.
standalone missions. The cast of characters that is invited on the mission to do the job is just whoever showed up that night. And
Mhm.
the joy of that is not only does it free it up so whoever shows up to game night can play, it also makes it so you can change out the GM. So you don't have
Mhm.
to have like a forever GM. You can have
Nice.
a different person GMing each week, and
Mhm.
at the end of the mission, if they survived and they won, they get a power. So that's high risk, high reward, big payoff if you manage to succeed. And that just proved to be a winning formula, honestly. And to this day, in this iteration of the game, it's almost completely unchanged. Like that was the winning formula that brought the game, kept it
Mhm.
alive until I played it, and kept it alive until we made the contract.
Perfect. So I could create my character and I could jump into games and use the online site to find a GM and find a group of people to play with at a time that suits me with my character that I've made and been on different adventures with. Is that right? So
Yeah,
that's yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
perfect.
totally. So you can play with a small, consistent group, totally fine. You can play with, just like you do game night at your house, you have your,
Mhm.
slightly expanded group of people. You can play with whoever shows up, or you can
Mhm.
join one of our big online play groups where we
Mhm.
have dozens of active players in a shared setting, and they're all playing their own personal characters, probably more than one over time.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's super easy with our website. We have
Mhm.
people who are leading it, and it's not a full-time job. I mean, it
Yeah.
it takes almost no effort for them, which is
Mhm.
unthinkable to people who run communities like that, like West Marches and
Yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely, I love that. So the only thing is, and I know you mentioned this in your website, so I'll bring it up with me. Is when I was looking at, it, I was like, "Oh, how do I what safety tools are there and things on there?"
Mm.
So if I'm going online to play games with people I don't really know, like how do I know that they're cool people? You know?
Yeah, right. I mean, one big thing that works here is just the standard way that communities police themselves in any
Hmm.
sort of social gathering, right? If someone's conduct is bad,
Hmm.
nobody wants to keep that person around, and usually they are kicked out.
Hmm.
And we don't have a lot of like spoiler or not spoiler, but like content warnings and lines and veils and stuff built into the website. But that doesn't mean that you can't utilize those safety tools when you play with people online.
Hmm.
And I think it all just comes down to like how communities police themselves. If someone's going for shock value or they're misaligned on the tone or trying to you know, not behave in a way that makes the community
Hmm.
an inviting and comfortable place to be, I
Hmm.
mean, the community can just get rid of that person. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's tons of people.
Fabulous. Okay, great. So I love that it's online. Love that you're trying to get that scheduling consistency by people coming in, doing different jobs and stuff. But let's dig into the system a little bit. So how do we play? What are the main core mechanics of the game? So I notice it's got like a D10 dice pool system.
Yeah. So when for resolution, we just use a really simple D10 dice pool system. Your character has attributes and abilities, and you sum up the ratings in those and roll that many dice for whatever action that you want to do. It has degrees of success, so it's not just pass fail. It can be you succeed your intended action, but something goes wrong, or it might be that you get exceptional success and something additionally good happens, or maybe a
Hmm.
botch, which is the opposite end of things. Something goes horribly wrong, which is always a blast, honestly. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, the dice system resolution, that's pretty standard stuff, and it's easy to learn, easy and fun to use. And that's what we were going for with actually like the rolling of dice in our game is we want to keep it kind of unobtrusive and fun.
Hmm. And in terms of one of the things that it talks about on the site is about combat.
Mm,
So we've all been in games where combat's going on a really long time and we're kind of getting a bit tired of it. But one of the things you mentioned is that it's aimed to be quite quick and gritty with the combat in the system. So how does combat work, and how do we achieve that quick and gritty feel that we're looking for?
totally, yeah. So we've identified really two big things about sort of traditional role-playing game combat that are
Hmm.
anti-fun. One is
Hmm.
waiting for someone else to do something for forever. So we try to keep
Hmm.
our rounds really, really short.
Hmm.
Two is repetitiveness, and that is like, okay, it's my turn, I hit it again. Okay, it's my turn, I hit it again. And we have a lot of little intricacies about our combat system that make it so that the situation changes every round, and the rounds are
Hmm.
really, really short, so your turn is really often.
Yeah.
And then the final thing is just the stakes, right? If it feels like a Nerf battle, it's going to feel like a Nerf battle. I want it to feel like you're in a bar and someone actually pulled a gun on your character. Like,
Yeah.
I want you to feel like, holy crap, if I fight this biker gang, I have no idea what is going to happen to me, but it's not going to be good.
Hmm.
Um, and it doesn't take 10 rounds of combat to get there.
Nice.
This, yeah.
I love that. Some people in the chat are talking about kind of scenarios and things. So I'm going to jump us to
Oh,
talk to
yeah.
this. So they're mentioning something called the exchange. So because someone was saying, "Whoa, there's like more than 27 scenarios," and people are talking about the exchange. So could you talk a little bit about, yeah, like what these scenarios are, what the exchange is?
Totally, yeah. So we have it so every session you play, it's called a contract, right? Your
Hmm.
character, which is called a contractor, is
Hmm.
invited by this weird supernatural being called a harbinger to
Hmm.
participate in this contract. And if you succeed, you get a gift, you get your powers. And if you fail, better luck next time. But
Hmm.
scenario is just a content module for a contract. And
Okay.
we care a lot about spoilers and out of game knowledge in this game because it's meant to be a challenging, creative problem solving game. And that
Hmm.
means that you as a player, you don't know anything about what situation you're going to go into. You and your team of people, you're not Ocean's 11, you're not the perfect crew for the job. You
Hmm.
are a band of weirdo extremists, maybe with superpowers, and you have to figure out what's going on and what you can do to take this critical life or death situation and make the
Hmm.
outcome what you want. So
Hmm.
what it ends up being is scenarios are one time, you play in them one time, but after that you can run them for other groups of people, and there's a lot of camaraderie that comes with that. It's so fun to talk about, like, oh, you also played in this scenario, like what did you do, what happened and what went down.
Hmm.
And so scenarios are a big part of our game, and they are, when you play in one, you unlock the write up for that scenario if it exists. You can run it for other people and unlocks it for them. And the joy of that is that you can go back, you can read all the old GM notes from the other runs, you
Mhm.
can read the in-character journals that people write about these
Mhm.
scenarios. Um, and so we have over 350 scenarios with write-ups that are over 1,000 words long and
Mhm.
that have been played at least once. But we
Mhm.
also have this special part of the site called the Scenario Exchange,
Mhm.
which is where the contracts developers and also members of the community donate their scenarios to the contract so that they can be unlocked and shared by other people. And
Oh, okay.
so, yeah, so it's a way to support the website
Mhm.
that is not like money based. You don't have to give money to support
Oh,
us.
okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, but these scenarios on this scenario exchange, they are all of them have been played at least one time. All of them have at least 1,000 words of write up, and all of
Mhm.
them got edited and looked at by our administrators and like made sure that the quality bar was there. So these are all good quality scenarios that
Mhm.
you can unlock by backing us on Kickstarter or
Mhm.
by contributing your own scenarios to the exchange.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's
so,
not, we have hundreds of other ones too that you could discover just by playing.
mhm.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I love that. I just thought I'd sidebar what that is because I saw a lot of chat talking about it. So I was like, oh, let's get involved with what the chat's talking about and
Yeah,
jump into what
totally.
they're talking about. So jumping back into the game and kind of the system, another thing that jumped out on me was like downtime. So there's the system has like more structured sort of downtime activities.
hmm Yeah. So the main way of playing is what we talked about, going on these contracts with your crew, right?
Hmm.
But contractors, they are really self-motivated characters, pretty much
Uh-huh.
as a rule. They willingly go on these life or death missions to
Hmm.
get superpowers to change the world. They have some vision for a better world.
Hmm.
And that is not achieved just by going on jobs and doing jobs. A lot of people, they want to pursue their ambitions, or maybe use their superpowers to get rich
Sure.
or take out an old enemy or something like that. They want to do
Hmm.
things between their contracts.
Hmm.
So we have two main categories of these things. One is moves, where the contractor takes
Hmm.
initiative and does something for some benefit, whether that's
Hmm.
purchasing a small town in middle America to create like a your home base, or trying to get rich with their superpowers, or doing something that relates to their ambition, which is very individual and unique to each character. And then the other type of downtime activity is what's called a loose end. And these are things that you obtain usually on contracts. Maybe you were filmed doing something very illegal or
Hmm.
questionable. Maybe you made enemies with a secret society that is going to not necessarily just sit around forever until you bump into each other again.
Hmm.
And the way those work is that you have some amount of time
Hmm.
to take initiative and try and close it out and
Hmm.
get rid of it, or something bad will happen to your character.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah,
Always
so
a
if you
risk.
make an enemy, you want to deal with it before the hammer falls.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sounds like it. Like you say, high risk, high reward. So when we're creating a contractor, one of the characters for the games, what kind of goes into it? Because I've got some of my notes saying, we've got an archetype, a paradigm, an ambition
Yes,
about that.
those are the three main elements.
Mm-hmm.
So a contractor, yeah, you fill out a stat sheet, and we try to make that as painless as possible because it's, right now it's all on the website and everything calculates for you.
Mm-hmm.
But conceptually, the really important part of a contractor are the archetype, paradigm, and ambition. So archetype is just a free form text field. All three of these are just free form text fields to describe their concept, like hippie or stockbroker or pathetic orphan, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then your paradigm is describing the latent potential that you're going to unlock when you are victorious on contract. So you could be an alien, a wizard, an alchemist, literally anything. We could we can support anything in this system. So if you want to be a mad scientist or a sapient parasite that travels from host to host, you can really
Mhm.
become anything.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the final one is your ambition, which is why you're saying yes to going on these crazy jobs, and hopefully also like what is your vision for the world that puts you in conflict with the status quo. So
Mhm.
something like um, eliminate all computers, you're a Luddite or something like that. That would be a great ambition because it's
Okay.
super lofty. Maybe they believe super deeply in it, so they're willing to risk their lives, and it's going to create conflict, which is just fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so those are the three main things. And I think you
Amazing.
also mentioned the limits.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, limits are another interesting mechanical thing that defines your character, and it's just a really simple, easy way to kind of define your character's morality. You choose
Mhm.
three so-called limits, which are situations or actions that really like go against their core character and test their ability to cope. So a
Mhm.
standard person, like a normal human, would have um, one that is murder. So if you murdered somebody or killed somebody not in self-defense.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, there's also agony, I think it's called right now. Anguish, that's it. Anguish, which is like if you're tortured or you go through some horrific ordeal. And then
Mhm.
atrocities, which is what it sounds like on the tin. If you see like some sort of humanitarian atrocity, it's going to test your ability to cope.
Mhm.
But you can always swap out those limits for
Yeah.
other limits in if you're conceptually, if you're like a fae or you're a psychopath or
Yeah.
something like that. We have a variety of other ones you can choose.
Yeah.
Um, and that together with the other three fields we talked about, that really
Mm.
kind of defines the character of your contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds really cool. Also, it was funny when you were talking earlier, I misheard you for a second saying anguish to being English. And I was like, that's your morality limit is that you were
Yeah,
English. And I
can't
was
go to
like,
the
I guess
UK,
that could
sorry.
work.
It's
Yeah, you
cloudy
go around the
days.
world
No.
colonizing stuff, that's your morality. But yeah, no, anguish. I picked that up as well. And someone in the chat was talking about some characters they saw. They said they once saw a guy play a sentient dollar bill who possessed people that picked them up.
Yeah,
So really character creation has absolutely loads of creativity and is very sure you can do that in this system, which sounds really, really great.
yeah. Well, it
Um,
starts it starts as humans and it starts as that like almost like horror movie vibes, right? Like
mhm,
I want you to feel like you're in Scarface or Silence of the Lambs or something like that. As you get victories, you can go beyond that but you have to get a victory for each way you want to go beyond that and each new
mhm.
thing you want to do. So you can't start as a dollar bill that possesses people to pick them up, but yay, 15 victories in, you can absolutely be that.
Amazing. That's something to aim for as well. Also on the so I mentioned you're on Kickstarter right now. And first of all, congratulations because you are fully funded.
Yes,
Uh,
thank you.
so whilst you and it's up until April 10th at the moment. So if you're listening to us when we're live recording on the 18th, you still have a bit of time to kind of check it out. So it's fully funded, so it will happen. Obviously, the game is available on the website, but this is bringing people kind of like PDF and a book and making it be
Yeah.
a physical thing that people can have outside of the website. I noticed you're going to say a lot of the book and the PDFs is being given over to the gift builder. Could you talk about the gift builder a bit?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, the Kickstarter, just to quickly touch on that,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people out there that really won't consider a game to be a game until, it
Hmm.
is a book and it's a PDF.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what the Kickstarter is trying to fund. We're getting layout for the book and the PDF, and we're getting a bunch of new art for the book, just so that we can ensure that we can bring that super high level of quality that we've achieved with the website to book form.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Hmm.
And like you mentioned, yeah, as I outline on the Kickstarter, about 40% of the finished book is going to be dedicated to our gift builder, a
Hmm.
device-free version of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really our like crown jewel of the whole system. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of challenges in between just with the game's format and design between
Mhm.
do anything that you want and making
Yeah.
that happen. Because on
Mhm.
one hand, we have gritty, high stakes gameplay, so probably some degree of specificity and crunch is going to be needed.
Sure.
On the other hand, we have inconsistent groups and rotating GMs, and you want your characters' powers to all behave the same no matter who is GMing for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of complexity that goes into creating a system that actually supports all of those aspects of the game.
Yeah, of
And
course.
we've achieved it here with our gift builder.
Mhm.
Um, so just to give like a high level overview of it,
Yeah.
you come to the gift builder with an idea, hopefully.
Mhm.
So you conceptualize or you get an idea from TV or anime or a book you read,
Mhm.
anything. You say, okay, I want to create, um, let's say my chef character can, uh, taste something and learn about it, right? Simple
Mhm.
concept. Then you go to the gift builder, you select one of our gift types, which is right now power, which is like a supernatural trait or power or superpower or
Mhm.
skill. So that's great for
Mhm.
your John Wicks, that's great for your Supermans, that's great for your genetic mutants, or other ones which are related to objects, what we call artifacts, which are
Mhm.
like extraordinary artifacts. And we have
Okay.
one for unique ones like Excalibur called Legendary Artifact, and we have
Sure.
two
Yeah.
more that are crafting. We have one for
Mhm.
single-use crafting things and one for other crafting things. So you can make your mad scientist, you can make your Tony Stark, right? Um,
Mhm.
but for once you select one of those gift types, you choose an effect, and we have over 90 effects to choose from. And
Mhm.
this is
Okay.
like what the gift does, right?
Yeah.
So one of the effects we have is alternate form, and that's where you take on an empowered alternate form. That could be used for a werewolf, that could be used for Sailor Moon or a Power Ranger, right? Like
Or a sentient
there
dollar bill.
you could use it for your sentient dollar bill too, yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, you can select an effect based on what it does. Then you customize it a little bit, and we have a lot of customization options, which really go beyond just making your numbers go up. It's
Mhm.
one of our biggest priorities is to make effects that are really unique and interesting. So
Mhm.
advancement is more about expanding your capabilities and tool set than
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna compete with my number dice and I roll in, oh, my
Mm.
numbers are higher, I win. That
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
definitely not the vibe. This is all about your tool set and how you creatively apply that. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of customization that goes into the effect, and then you add flavor on top of that. So everything that isn't outlined in the system, you're free to flavor it your own way. So that's how you can make alternate form about becoming Sailor Moon or about becoming a werewolf. Similarly, I mean, the most basic example is like, okay, say I have a power that lets me injure somebody. It's on
Mhm.
me whether that's I'm giving them the five-finger palm strike from Kill Bill, or
Mhm.
shooting a fireball at them, or
Mhm.
eye lasers, or whatever else you could imagine, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
so
can
that's,
yeah,
sorry,
so you
go
can
on.
really craft the flavor and the narrative, the creative side of it is really up to the characters completely, I guess then. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a ton of systems and mechanics which are really easy to use and customizable, and you can expand it to have very specific systems that are going to work for no matter who is the GM. And these are like
Mhm.
concise and as simple as possible, but very specific. Um, but you can flavor everything else based on whatever flavor you're going for. And it ends up working surprisingly well, honestly. I mean, we've been iterating on this system, this
Mhm.
version of this system for at least 4 years now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we've got it down to a science, and I'm really excited
Yeah.
about how awesome it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great you've had, like, 4 years, like you say, on the site to develop and having people playing it so much, so you've able to get it to a place you're really happy with to put it for print for the Kickstarter. Um, the system, from what you're saying, is like it has a lot of support and flexibility, so it sounds really great that people could absolutely homebrew and have their own settings to create things with, because all the tools are there. But I did notice that you do have your own setting of the illumination, which is
Yeah.
kind of included in the game that people can use. So could you tell us a little bit about the setting that you have?
Totally. Yeah. So, like you said, the actual rules of the game and, all the systems we have for equipment, everything from swords and shields to smoke grenades and
Hmm.
vehicles and all that. And of course, the entire gift builder you can use with any setting that you want. If you want
Hmm.
to have everybody be in a cyberpunk world or any, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer world, whatever you want to do, it
Hmm.
can totally support that. But of course, yeah, we have our own setting that we are shipping with the book called the Illumination.
Hmm.
The Illumination is a twist on the modern setting with supernatural stuff where,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's like modern day Earth, unexplainable things happen. But instead of it being like a masquerade type of situation where it's all hidden behind some, or like Harry Potter, where it's all hidden behind some grand
Hmm.
conspiracy that, the normies
Hmm.
aren't in on. Um, we have it so basically as soon as people started getting cell phones in their pocket with like video
Yeah.
streaming and the internet,
Hmm.
videos of these things started to come out. And
Yeah.
so we're having an era of what we call the illumination, where
Hmm.
every week something new supernatural thing is going viral on the internet. Some ancient secret society is being exposed, maybe an
Hmm.
alien is coming to Earth, things like that. And in this world, as things are changing, there's a lot of corporations that are scrambling to profit on this sort of thing, and a lot of like new cults coming up and charlatans that are trying to capitalize on all this unknown stuff. So
Hmm.
it's a really active and vibrant sort of setting in a time of change, and it really ties into like the contractors being these ambitious people that want to capitalize, right?
Hmm.
So that's just a high
Yeah.
level overview.
Yeah, no, great. High level overview is great. So that comes in with the book and everything like that. Um, but yeah, I feel like we've covered so much. I mean, obviously, we've got the game on the website and things have been out on Kickstarter. Is there anything we've missed? Is there anything you'd like to share about the game, or make sure people know if they're having a look and thinking about backing the Kickstarter?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing is just, we have this long history and this really big community. The
Hmm.
predecessor game to this one, called House Games, that started in 97, basically what it didn't have was the gift builder. So the
Hmm.
GMs would always be making these powers up totally bespoke, for
Hmm.
each character. And that was actually very successful. And despite not having a rule book or anything like that, it spread from like just via word of
Hmm.
mouth, for years and years and years, actually decades. It's played all
Yeah.
over the United States. I mean, I didn't meet the original creator until years and years after I started playing it.
Hmm.
Um, and then now with the contract, we've made this website, we've built this community. We have hundreds of players. I mean, thousands of
Hmm.
people have played the game, hundreds of people play it regularly. And just having that much feedback and that much interest in the game, really before we started to market it, I think is like a testament to just how
Yeah.
much this high risk, high reward, um, get superpowers, a new power each time you play. Like that just clicks with people, and we've done our best to just polish that gem and present it as cleanly and awesomely as possible to the world. So that's
Mhm.
the one of the big things about the game that I hope comes
Mhm.
across when people look at it.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's great to hear. And like you say, it's great to hear that there's already like a vibrant community. Some of them have been talking in the chat as well and of the stream. So thank you for joining. But yeah, it's always great to see. Well, like I mentioned before, you can check out all the details on the contract website, which is contractrpg.com, and the Kickstarter is currently live right now until April 10th. And links to both are either on the screen or in the show notes of the podcast you're listening to. So Spencer, thank you thank you so much for coming on and sharing the Contract RPG with us. I'm really excited to check it out and learn more. But before you go, I do ask if there are any other games that you would recommend or that you enjoy playing. And the rules are it can't be a game that you've made, because we spent a bit of time talking about the contract. And of course, it can't be D&D, because this is not D&D.
Yeah. I just want to shout out, and this might be like a real basic take, but big shout out to Apocalypse World and the Powered by the Apocalypse engine that has become so big and prominent in the last like 10, 15 years, because it's it really created a way to do like genre simulators and create a type of game that was really needed for a lot of players. Obviously, our game is not really like that. It's a lot more traditional and a lot more of a the thing that doesn't fit the genre happens sometimes, and we love that and find it interesting. But a lot of people wanted to play Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and now they can with Monster of the Week. And the side shout out to Blades in the Dark, which is another sort of take on episodic mission stuff, but again from a totally different perspective than the contract. I think it's really interesting to see like this formula done in three different games, kind of, so yeah, those are my choices.
I love those. I think they're really great choices. And yeah, I love where we are with RPGs right now, that there's so much variety and there's so many people doing different things. And if you are interested in learning more about them, every Monday we're here on Not D&D talking to different creators, talking about their games, so you can learn more about them and see if it's the sort of game that applies to you. So I believe without any further ado, that is all that we have time for this week. So thank you very much for popping along, watching the live stream, people that came along. And Spencer, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on fully funding the Kickstarter. And I'm really excited to see what it does with the rest of the time you have left.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jessica.
No problem. Thanks very much, folks. Bye.